there everyone, welcome to Creative Coloring with Erum. I have a very colorful card to share with you today, and it looks like it's quite layered because of the way the stamp is drawn and the way the layering stencils add layers on the images. For my card today, I will use the Craft Your Life Project Kit Floral Acanthus, and this has a full joined stamp, so you just place it in the stamp positioner once and stamp multiple panels in one go. I have a 6x6 classic Crest solar white cardstock in my stamp positioner, and I will use the Sunray Crisp Dye Ink to stamp the image. I will stamp over the image again after I'm done with the coloring stencils. I mentioned this before too, that we have monsoon here. It's wet and very humid here. It takes ages for the black ink to dry, so I find convenient to stamp the image in a lighter dye ink and then re-stamp it in black once I'm done with the coloring. It saves the hassle of smearing and getting black ink smudges. If you watched my last week's video, the inks that I will use for the flower today are not going to be new to you. I wanted to use the same colors this time too, but today I changed the inks for the leaves and made this one more tropical looking and added a cooler tone to the whole palette. For the first layer of the flower, I will add Pink Pearl Crisp Dye Ink, dark at the base, and leave the tips as is. I will then add Sunray Crisp Dye Ink to the tips just as I did last week. But I promise you, even though I use the same inks, you can compare all three of my cards and they will look different. I hope you will give this a try too. For the first layer of the leaves, I will start with Lagoon Crisp Dye Ink and leave some space to add Sunray Crisp Dye Ink where the leaf is curling. This will add vibrancy and that tropical effect. I will color the first layer for the flowers and the leaves in the same way. Then through the layering stencil, I will use the Emerald Crisp Dye Ink for the leaves and the flourishes. And to add that oomph and drama, I will add Arctic Mountain Crisp Dye Ink to the base and onto portions where I want to show depth. This will really enhance the flourishes and leaves. You don't have to do this, but trust me, this adds so much drama to the leaves. For the flowers, I will add Coral Berry Crisp Dye Ink to the extreme center and then spread it outwards, so you can see the difference between the center and the outer edges. Later on, I also added a bit of Ruby Red Crisp Dye Ink in the center, as I thought that the center wasn't as dark compared to the blue of the leaves. Once I was done with all the coloring, I placed the panel back into the stamp positioner and stamped the image in Obsidian ink. I die-cut all the images, and as you can see, the die cuts out all the images in one go, just as it stamps all the images in one go, which is really helpful. Now I will work on the background. I use the fine tool stencil, which I'm sure you know by now is my favorite stencil. And I used all the inks that I had on my table except for the dark ones for the background. The main ink that I started with is Sunray Crisp Dye Ink, which I added a lot of, and then in some places I added a bit of Lagoon and also a bit of Pink Pearl or Coral Berry, whatever was left on the blending brush. When you look at the background without the flowers, it doesn't make sense and it looks very colorful. So you will notice that I kept placing the bouquet onto the panel to see where I needed color. So it's really not that random. There is some balance to it. Once I was happy with the background, I added black paint splatters, which you can completely opt not to add. And then I adhered the images with instant dimension foam tape. To finish, I added sequins. Let me know how you like my colorful card and how do you find this project kit. I like the coloring stencils and the way they add beautiful designs to the images. Love the flourishes too. Thank you for watching. See you next week. Bye.